the Pacific Northwest, a land of mist and giants. We look upon these forests, a seemingly eternal cathedral of green, and we see stillness. We see colossal spruce and cedar, ancient beings that touch the sky. We see rivers, clear and cold, carving paths from glaciers to the sea. It is a world of breathtaking scale, a map of mountains and water that we believe to be fixed, governed only by geology and weather. We see an ecosystem in perfect, self-contained balance. But this is a profound illusion. This entire landscape, from the tallest tree to the richest soil, is not self-contained at all. It is subsidized. It is dependent on an invasion, a sacrifice. It is built and maintained by a force that comes from elsewhere, a force that rewrites the very chemistry of the land. And then we see it, a flicker of crimson in the rapids, Oncorhynchus, the Pacific salmon. We see a fish. We think of it as a resource, a meal, a participant in the river's life. We see its epic struggle upstream as a simple, desperate act of reproduction, a single-minded drive to spawn and die, fulfilling its own biological imperative. But this is to see only one piece of a puzzle, a single cog in a machine we cannot comprehend. What if this is not just a fish? What if this creature is a delivery system, a biological courier on a one-way mission? What if this animal, weighing only a few pounds, is a force of geological significance? What if it is not just living in the ecosystem, but actively building it? What if we were to tell you that the salmon is the true architect of these ancient forests, that it carries the very essence of the distant ocean, thousands of miles to the foot of a mountain? The journey begins not in the river, but in the vast, cold, nutrient-rich expanse of the North Pacific. Here, for years, the salmon feeds. It grows, absorbing the ocean's bounty, converting sunlight, plankton and krill into muscle, fat, and bone. It becomes a dense living packet of marine nutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus, carbon, and essential trace elements. It is a vessel filling its cargo hold for a final, impossible voyage. Then, the ancient summons is felt. An internal clock, a magnetic pull, a scent memory of a stream it left as a juvenile. The signal is absolute. It must return. It turns from the ocean and begins the long swim home. This is not a migration of return. It is a migration of delivery. The moment it enters the fresh water of its birth river, its body begins a catastrophic, programmed transformation. It stops feeding. Its entire digestive system dissolves, its body consuming itself to provide the last reserves of energy. Its skin, once silver blue, burns a defiant crimson. The male develops a hooked jaw, a kite, a weapon for the battles ahead. It is becoming a warrior, a pilgrim, and a ghost, all at once. The river, which seems a placid route on a map, is a gauntlet. It is a torrent of cold, relentless opposition. The salmon must fight this current every second, for hundreds, sometimes thousands of miles. It leaps waterfalls, muscular bodies arcing against gravity. It navigates shallow rapids, tearing its flesh on the stones. It evades the shadows. This is the first filter. Only the strongest, the fattest, the most nutrient-dense individuals have the energy to make it to the spawning grounds. The weak are filtered out. Nature is ensuring that only the most valuable deliveries make it to the destination. This is the first glimpse of its power. This isn't just a fish fighting for survival. This is biomass, against all laws of physics, willing itself upstream. This is the sea, beginning its invasion of the mountain. The arrival is not subtle. It is a deluge. A river that was clear and quiet one day becomes a churning, boiling highway of red bodies the next. Millions of fish, all driven by that same unstoppable urge, flood the shallow gravel beds. The sound is a constant percussive splashing. The smell of the river changes. It is the scent of the ocean, carried hundreds of miles inland. This is the engineering phase. The fish, having arrived, now complete their primary mission. The females, with violent shudders of their tails, carve nests or redds into the riverbed gravel. They deposit their eggs, their life's purpose. The males jostle, fight and fertilize them. And then they wait. Their bodies, already ravaged by the journey, now completely betray them. Having given everything, they begin to die. The river becomes choked with the dead and dying. And this is where the true engineering begins. This mass death is not an end. It is the single most important event this ecosystem will experience all year. It is the transfer. The first to arrive at this sudden, astonishing banquet are the titans, the grizzly bear. For the bear, the salmon run is the difference between life and death. A large grizzly may eat 80 pounds of fish in a single day. But the bear is not a clean eater. It is a high grader. It has evolved to be an efficient courier of nutrients. It seeks the richest parts, the brains, the eggs, the skin, which are loaded with fat. The bear plucks a fish from the rapids, carries it, and this is critical, away from the water. It drags the carcass deep into the forest, sometimes half a mile from the riverbank. Here it consumes what it wants and leaves the rest. A single bear may do this dozens of times a day. It is not just feeding itself, it is acting as the forest's first distributor, moving thousands of pounds of marine fertilizer from the river into the soil. The eagles arrive next. Hundreds of bald eagles may line the trees, their white heads like lights in the dark branches. They too pull fish from the water, flying to their favorite perches, dropping scraps and bones onto the forest floor. Wolves, otters, minks, and gulls join the feast. The entire predator community of the forest converges on the river. They are all, knowingly or not, agents of this great nutrient dispersal. But the work of the large couriers is only the beginning. The dominoes are falling, triggering a second microscopic cascade. Every carcass, whether partial or whole, immediately becomes a new world. The air becomes thick with the buzz of flies, blowflies, flesh flies. They lay their eggs. Within hours, the salmon carcasses are swarming with maggots. These insects are the processors. They are breaking down the complex marine proteins into simpler forms. This insect explosion is a secondary feast. Songbirds, warblers, and robins, birds that would never touch a fish, now gorge on this sudden bounty of nutrient-rich insects. The salmon's body, its marine essence, is now taking flight, being distributed even further into the forest canopy. The spiders on the riverbanks grow demonstrably larger than their counterparts on salmon-free rivers. They are weaving the sea into their webs. The fish that are not eaten by bears or birds or consumed by insects, and those that simply drift to the river's edge after spawning, begin their final act. They decay. Fungi and bacteria, the forest's unseen decomposers, swarm the remains. They dissolve the flesh and bone, releasing the salmon's cargo directly into the water and the soil. The river itself, for a few crucial weeks, becomes a nutrient soup. Algae and aquatic plants bloom, feeding the very insect larvae that the next generation of salmon, the tiny fry just emerging from the gravel, will depend on to survive. This is the immediate chaos, a world of feasting, death, and decay. But seen from a wider lens, it is a perfectly orchestrated system of transfer. The salmon has done more than spawn. It has delivered a tithe. It has brought the ocean to the trees. We step back. We move from the frantic days of the run to the quiet passage of years, decades, centuries. What is the legacy of this annual massive delivery? What does this new reality look like? The evidence is not hidden. It is written in the very fabric of the landscape. Scientists seeking to understand this system turn to chemistry. They found a smoking gun, a chemical fingerprint, a specific isotope, nitrogen-15. This heavy isotope is far more common in the marine environment than on land. When researchers tested the plants and animals of the Pacific Northwest, they found this oceanic signature everywhere. They found it in the fur of the bears, confirming that up to 90% of their annual nitrogen comes from fish. They found it in the feathers of the songbirds. They found it in the bodies of the insects. But most astonishingly, they found it in the trees. A Sitka spruce, a giant towering hundreds of feet into the air, growing on a riverbank, showed levels of marine-derived nitrogen-15 that were off the charts. There was only one possible explanation. The trees were eating salmon. The nutrients delivered by the bears, the insects, and the decomposers had entered the soil. The root systems of these giants, a vast, complex network, were drawing this fertilizer up, pulling the essence of the ocean into their woody cores. The salmon, in death, was feeding its own executioner, the tree that would one day fall into the river, creating the logjams and protective pools its descendants need to hide from predators. This new reality is one of astonishing interconnectedness. The salmon do not just feed the forest, they build it. Studies have shown that trees in watersheds with healthy salmon runs grow faster, larger, and more resilient than those in rivers without. The growth rings in a log are a living database, a record of good salmon years and bad ones. And the salmon, in turn, are engineering their own perfect nursery. The death of the parents feeds the children in a perfect loop. The fry, hatching in the gravel, are immediately sheltered by the strong, stable riverbanks. Why are they stable? Because the roots of these salmon-fed giant trees are holding the soil in place, preventing it from washing away. The shade from the salmon-fed canopy keeps the water cool and oxygenated, the precise conditions the fry need to thrive. The forest and the fish are not two separate systems, they are one. The forest is the ocean, and the salmon is the artery that connects them. This transformed world is one of accelerated life, of impossible richness. It is a world where bears are fatter, their cubs more likely to survive the winter. It is a world where the soil is deep and black, where life explodes from every niche. And what of a world without this engineer? We do not have to guess. We have created this contrast ourselves. Visit a river blocked by a dam. The water above it is still. The river below it is clear, too clear it is sterile. The bears are gone. The eagles are scarce. The trees on the bank, though still standing, are slower growing. They are hungry. The nutrient pipeline has been severed. We have, in our desire to engineer the river for our own purposes, broken an engine far older and more complex than any we can build. We have silenced the heart pump of the forest. The landscape, which we thought was permanent, begins the slow process of starvation. It begins with a simple silver fish, a creature of instinct. It journeys thousands of new-age miles, gathering the wealth of an ocean. It returns on an impossible pilgrimage to the precise gravel bed of its birth. It battles upstream, its body dissolving even as it swims, a living sacrifice. It delivers its cargo, both of life in its eggs and of sustenance in its body. This cargo is received. It is carried by bears, flown by eagles, broken down by insects, and finally, drunk by the roots of the largest living things on Earth. A fish becomes a tree. The ocean becomes a mountain forest. What does this teach us? It teaches us that the world is not a collection of static objects, but a series of dynamic processes, that the lines we draw on maps between sea and land, between animal and plant, are illusions of our own making. The salmon redefines intelligence. It is not a conscious architect, but it achieves a feat of engineering that dwarfs our own. It has designed a self-perpetuating, self-enriching system that has sustained a continent for millennia. It asks us to reconsider our place in this system. We, too, are engineers. But so often, we are engineers of disconnection. We build walls, we break cycles, the salmon builds bridges. The history of this land is not written in stone. It is written in flesh and water and wood. It is the story of an ancient covenant, a yearly sacrifice that fuels an empire of giants. And we, standing on the riverbank, are only the most recent observers, just beginning to understand that the world is not molded merely by tectonics and time. It is sculpted, breath by breath, life by life, by its most dedicated and its most determined inhabitants.